The most dangerous lies aren't the ones they tell you, but the ones they make you tell yourself. Something strange happened that morning. It wasn't a suspicious text. It wasn't a late night call. It wasn't the faint trace of cologne that didn't belong to me. It was her coffee cup, a navy blue ceramic mug I had bought for her last year, with "Today will be amazing" embossed across the side. She always drank coffee in the morning. Always. No matter how rushed, no matter how late she was running, she never left the house without taking a sip. It was part of her routine, a habit as natural as breathing. But that day, it sat untouched on the kitchen counter. The coffee inside had gone cold, its surface undisturbed, like it had never been touched at all. I stood there for a long moment, staring at that cup like it could give me an answer. Something was wrong. I just didn't know what. And that was the most terrifying part. She had left in a hurry that morning, barely saying goodbye. No lingering kiss, no playful smirk, just a quick peck on the cheek and a distracted, "See you later, babe." I should have thought nothing of it. But the way she avoided my eyes, the way she grabbed her bag without touching her coffee, the way she practically ran out the door, it stuck with me. All day I felt off. Not the usual kind of worry, but a hollow sinking feeling, like something that had been taken from me, and I hadn't even noticed. I tried to shake it off. She texted me like usual, sent a picture of her lunch, told me she had a meeting that ran late, asked if I wanted to order a takeout for dinner. Everything seemed perfect. But then night came, and as she lay sleeping beside me, her phone on the nightstand lit up. No message, no missed call, just a reminder flashing across the screen. "Don't forget, 11:30 p.m. garage." My stomach twisted. Beside me she breathed softly, peaceful, innocent, an angel wrapped in the warm sheets. But I knew. Angels don't keep secrets. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying that notification and over, 11:30 p.m. garage. It wasn't an alarm, not a work reminder, not a text, just a vague message with a time and a place. I turned my head slightly, watching her sleep. Her face was relaxed, her breathing steady. She looked normal, peaceful, like the woman I had loved for years. And yet there was that nagging thought in the back of my mind, the kind you try to ignore because acknowledging it means things will never be the same again. I glanced at the clock. 11:27 p.m. A part of me wanted to close my eyes, pretend I never saw anything, wake up tomorrow and go on with life as if nothing had changed. But another part, the one that had spent years trusting too easily, wasn't ready to do that, so I made a decision. Slowly, carefully, I slipped out of bed, making sure not to disturb her. The floor felt cold beneath my feet as I moved toward the window, pressing 2 fingers against the blinds just enough to peek outside. The garage door was slightly open. I hadn't even heard it move. My pulse quickened as I grabbed my phone, careful not to make a sound. I thought about waking her up, asking outright what was going on. But then, what would she say? Oh, I forgot I had to check something in the garage at almost midnight? Number I needed to see for myself. Moving as quietly as I could, I left the bedroom, stepping into the dark hallway. The house felt different at night, like it held secrets that only existed when the lights were off. Every creak in the floorboards made my heart pound. Every shift of shadows against the walls sent a chill down my spine. I reached the back door leading to the garage, hesitating for just a second before turning the handle. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. Something wasn't right. The space smelled faintly of motor oil and damp concrete, the usual scent of a closed garage, but there was something else. A trace of perfume. Not hers, or at least not the one she usually wore. My fingers hovered over the light switch, but I stopped myself. If she, or whoever was out here, was trying to stay in the dark, turning on the lights would be the fastest way to let them know I was watching. Instead, I let my eyes adjust, scanning the shadows. And then I saw it. A figure standing near her car. For a second, my brain couldn't process what I was looking at. The person was wearing a hoodie, hood pulled up, body angled away from me, not moving, just standing there, facing the driver's side door. My breath caught in my throat. Was it her? Was it someone else? My fingers tightened around my phone. Should I say something? Step forward. Call out her name. Then the figure moved. Not toward me, not away. They'd simply turned their head, just slightly, like they had sensed me. Every hair on my body stood on end. My mouth went dry as I finally found my voice. "Hey!" The moment the word left my lips, the figure bolted. They didn't run toward the house or the street. They ran toward the back of the garage, toward the side door that led into the yard. I heard the quick, panicked sound of their shoes scraping against the floor as they fumbled with the handle before disappearing into the night. My feet finally unstuck from the ground, and I rushed forward, pushing the door open just in time to see a dark shape vanish over the backyard fence. I stood there, heart hammering, the cold air biting into my skin. Who the hell was that? I turned back to the garage, forcing myself to take a deep breath. My hands were shaking as I reached for the car door, pulling it open. The interior light flickered on, revealing the usual mess, her gym bag, an old water bottle, a few crumpled receipts. But something was off. The glove compartment was slightly open. I reached out, pulling it down the rest of the way. Paper spilled onto the passenger seat. I grabbed a handful, expecting the usual. Car insurance and old registration. But mixed in between them was something that shouldn't have been there. A phone. Not hers. Not mine. And the screen was still glowing. My fingers hovered over it, hesitant, as if touching it would make this nightmare real. But I had come this far. I couldn't stop now. I flipped it over, pressing the power button. It was locked. But on the notification screen there was a message, a single text. He doesn't know, does he? I exhaled sharply, my vision tunneling. The air in the garage suddenly felt suffocating. I looked back at the house, my mind racing. She was still in bed, still asleep. But now I knew. I wasn't the only one living in this house. Someone else had been here all along, and I had no idea how deep this went. I stood frozen in the garage, the dim glow of the phone screen casting eerie shadows over my fingers. The words on the screen seemed to breathe, pulsing in the darkness. He doesn't know, does he? I read it once, then again. My eyes refused to look away as if blinking would change the meaning. My stomach churned, a deep, nauseating twist of realization clawing at my insides. My pulse pounded so loudly in my ears that for a second I thought I could hear my own heartbeat through my ribs. This wasn't just cheating. This was something else. The pieces of the puzzle had been scattered all along, but I had been too blind, too trusting to see them. The untouched coffee, the rushed goodbye, the hidden messages, the figure in the garage, and now this. A second phone with a message that confirmed I was the fool in someone else's game. I forced my breath to slow, gripping the phone tighter. My hands were slick with sweat, my fingers trembling slightly as I turned back toward the house. The silence suddenly felt suffocating. I strained my ears, listening for the faintest sound, anything at all that would tell me I wasn't alone in this house. I needed to see her. No, I needed to know if she was really there. Moving as silently as possible, I climbed the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. The hallway was dark, the only light coming from the small gap beneath our bedroom door. My throat was dry, my legs felt stiff, my body resisting every movement as if it already knew something my mind wasn't ready to accept. I reached the door and hesitated. My hand hovered over the doorknob. I was scared, truly scared, to open it. What was I about to find? I took a breath, steeled myself, and pushed it open. She was there, lying on her side, back facing me, blankets pulled up around her body. Her breathing was slow, steady. The dim light from the street outside cast soft shadows on the walls, painting the illusion of something peaceful, something normal. A sharp relief flooded my chest. Maybe, just maybe, I had overreacted. Maybe I had let paranoia sink its claws into me too deeply. I let out a slow, shaky exhale. My muscles relaxed just slightly as I took a step closer to the bed. "Babe!" My voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper. She didn't move. I tried again, louder this time. "Babe!" Still nothing. Something cold slithered down my spine. I reached out, hesitating only for a moment before my fingers brushed against her shoulder. Ice cold. My heart stopped. A deep, visceral panic surged through my chest, numbing my limbs as I yanked back the blanket. There was no one there. It wasn't her. It was just a pile of pillows, carefully arranged under the blanket to mimic the shape of a sleeping body. I stumbled back, my vision tunneling, my mind scrambling for an explanation. She had never been here. She had never gone to bed. She had made sure I would think she had. A perfect lie. And I had believed it. I bolted out of the bedroom, my breath coming in sharp, uneven gasps. Where the hell was she? And more importantly, who was she with? My mind raced back to the hooded figure in the garage. Was that her? Or someone else entirely? I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, my fingers slick with sweat, straight to voicemail. A suffocating weight pressed against my chest. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't me being paranoid. Something was deeply, horribly wrong. I turned back to the burner phone I had found in the garage, my hands shaking as I swiped up on the screen. The lock screen was simple, just a 4-digit passcode. If this was hers, what would she use? I tried her birth year. Wrong. I tried her phone number. Wrong again. My breathing was sharp and shallow, my pulse hammering against my skull. Think. I stared at the screen, my mind a chaotic mess until a single thought surfaced. Our anniversary. My fingers hesitated for only a second before pressing the numbers. The screen unlocked. My entire body went cold. It was hers. She had a second phone, a secret phone, and inside was everything she never wanted me to see. The first thing I checked were the messages. They weren't from just one person. There were multiple contacts, most of them saved under initials or fake names. Some had no names at all, just phone numbers. And the conversations, they weren't just cheating. They were business. Illegal business. My breath hitched as I scrolled through the text, my eyes skimming over messages about work payments, drop-off locations, coded instructions. There were mentions of moving product, warnings about keeping everything quiet, and vague references to someone watching. This wasn't an affair. This was a goddamn operation. Then I found his messages. The coworker. And that was when everything snapped into place. The texts were fresh, some from earlier that night. Him. Everything's set for tomorrow? Her. Yeah, he doesn't suspect a thing. Him. Make sure of it. Last thing we need is him sniffing around. Her. Relax. I've handled it. My breath stopped. This wasn't just about cheating. They were planning something. Something that involved me. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the phone. My vision blurred as adrenaline surged through my veins. I could barely think, barely breathe. Then a new message popped up. My stomach dropped. Is he dead yet? I sucked in a sharp breath, my hands clenched into fists. The clock on my phone read 11:45 p.m. She was still out there, still with him. And whatever they were planning, it hadn't happened yet. I had time, but not much. I bolted out of the bedroom, my heart pounding as if it would break free from my chest. Every step on the dark floor amplified my inner chaos. The message had been clear. Time was running out. I had to follow the clues, no matter how horrifying the truth might be. Outside, the cool night air sharpened my senses. I crept toward the garage, where a faint light glowed beneath the door. Pressing my ear against the cold metal, I caught hushed voices. Shipment delays! Cover our tracks! My blood ran cold. This wasn't just an affair, it was something far darker. Peering inside, I saw two figures, one hooded, the other nervously scanning the surroundings. Then, as if sensing me, they bolted into the night. The frantic sound of shuffling feet and a metallic scrape echoed long after they vanished. Back inside, I locked the door and sank onto the cold floor, scrolling through this burner phone I had snatched from the garage. Coded messages, financial transactions, clandestine meetings. It was all there. This was no simple betrayal. It was a calculated deception entangling her with someone from work. Rage bubbled inside me, but so did clarity. No more manipulation. I needed to expose the truth, to dismantle the lies that had turned my life into collateral. The untouched coffee cup, the hurried departures, the scent of an unfamiliar perfume, it all connected. This wasn't just infidelity, it was a carefully woven conspiracy. And as the clock ticked, I knew the reckoning had begun. I took a deep breath, steadying myself as I prepared to dive even deeper into the messages on the burner phone. My hands trembled slightly, but my mind was sharp, fueled by adrenaline and the weight of betrayal. I had to stay focused. Whatever this was, it went beyond an affair. It was calculated, deliberate, and I was at the center of it without even knowing. Scrolling through the texts, I began piecing together the plan. She and her so-called co-worker weren't just sneaking around behind my back. They were using me. My house, my stability, my complete trust. Everything had been a tool in their scheme. From what I could decipher, they had been laundering money through a fake company, likely using her workplace as a front. The messages mentioned transfers and clearing accounts and ensuring he doesn't ask questions. I had no doubt that he referred to me. They counted on my loyalty, on the fact that I never questioned where her money went or why some of her work stories never quite added up. But the worst part? They weren't just using my ignorance. They had planned to frame me if things went wrong. There it was, clear as day in a text she had sent just a few nights ago. Hurrah. If anything goes sideways, we can pin it on him. He's clueless. A sickening wave of nausea rolled through me. I had spent years loving this woman, defending her, believing she was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And all the while she was planning my downfall in case things didn't go her way. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to keep reading. I needed to know everything. The more I read, the clearer the picture became. They had been siphoning money for months. It started small, test transactions, to see if anyone noticed. But once they realized how easy it was, they scaled up. Large sums of money were being funneled through accounts linked to me, my name, my financial records, my liability. And tomorrow was the final step, a major transfer, a payout big enough for them to disappear. Her last message to him confirmed it. Her, one more night, then we're out. Him, he won't see it coming. Her, he never does. I gritted my teeth, my grip tightening on the phone. Every nerve in my body burned with fury, but I forced myself to stay calm. I couldn't react emotionally. Not yet. She thought I was asleep. She thought I was oblivious. But now, I had the upper hand. I locked the phone and placed it carefully on the table, my mind racing through the possibilities. There were two choices. One, confront her immediately. Tear the house apart, scream, demand answers. See if she had any ounce of shame left in her. Or two, let them finish their plan, then destroy them both. The second option was risky, but it had a certain poetic justice to it. If they wanted to frame me, I'd make sure the evidence pointed right back at them. I quickly gathered every piece of proof I had. The texts, the financial records, even screenshots of bank transactions linked to my name. I forwarded them to a trusted friend, a lawyer I knew would have my back. If anything happened to me, this proof would expose them. Then I prepared for the next step. I had no intention of letting her leave tomorrow. Tomorrow I would be the one setting the trap, and she would never see it coming. The next morning I acted normal. I kissed her goodbye, watched her leave, and forced myself to smile as if I didn't know that by tonight she planned to disappear with everything. My trust, my money, my life. But I'd spent the night making sure that wouldn't happen. By the time she left for work, everything was set. The proof was backed up, my lawyer had copies, and I'd already tipped off the right people who wouldn't let her walk away clean. Now all I had to do was wait. Evening came fast. She walked through the door like nothing had changed, greeting me with that same easy smile, the one she had probably perfected long before she met me. She didn't know that I had already seen who she really was. I let her go through the motions, pretending to be tired, excusing herself early for bed. I watched as she placed the burner phone back in the garage, thinking I'd never find it. She had no idea I had already emptied it of every secret. When she finally settled in, I stood at the doorway, arms crossed. Busy day? She barely looked up. Yeah, exhausted. I nodded slowly, then tossed her burner phone onto the bed. I bet. Her body stiffened instantly. I watched as the color drained from her face, her fingers gripping the blanket just a little too tight. What is that? You tell me, I said, voice calm, too calm. She let out a nervous laugh. I don't know where you found that, but... Stop! I cut her off. Just stop! For the first time I saw it. Panic. A flicker of it in her eyes, barely controlled. She wasn't used to being caught off guard. I know everything. She swallowed hard. You were going to frame me. My voice was sharper now, my anger bleeding through. You were going to take the money, disappear with your little boyfriend, and if anything went wrong, you'd make sure I was the one left to burn. Her lips parted, but no words came out. You really thought you were slick, huh? I took a step closer, voice low. But you messed up, and now you're screwed. Silence. Then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. Not a nervous smile, not an apologetic one. A real, amused smile. She let out a dry laugh, her eyes flicking toward the window. So that's it? You really went through with it? No denial, no excuses, just cold, unapologetic acceptance. For the first time I realized she had never loved me. I felt nothing but relief when the sound of tires screeching outside signaled the arrival of the authorities. She turned toward the window, eyes narrowing. What did you do? What you were planning to do to me, I said simply. I made sure you'd be the one left to burn. And just like that, it was over. Betrayal isn't just about cheating, it's about manipulation, deception, and the cold realization that someone you loved never saw you as anything more than a stepping stone. She thought she was smart, that she had planned every detail perfectly. But people like her always make the same mistake. They underestimate the ones they're playing. The trial was swift. The evidence was airtight. She and her so-called partner had been siphoning money for months, using my name as a safety net, ready to throw me under the bus if things went south. But instead, it was her world that collapsed. The company fired her. The authorities froze her assets. Her partner, her lover, her co-conspirator, cut a deal to save himself, leaving her to take the fall alone. In the end, she was left with nothing. I wish I could say I felt satisfaction watching her life unravel, but the truth is, there's no victory in realizing you wasted years loving a stranger. The only thing I felt was a relief. Betrayal doesn't just change you, it burns you down. And if you're lucky, you rise from the ashes. It shows you that some people don't love you. They love control, convenience, and what you can offer. The moment you stop serving their purpose, they will discard you like you never mattered. But the worst thing you can do, let them win by breaking you. I didn't let her break me. I walked away, stronger, wiser, and unwilling to ever let someone like her get close again. Because in the end, the best revenge isn't watching them fall. It's knowing they can never touch you again.